Well, hello there, and welcome to another edition of Warbird Wednesday. My name is Fred Bell. I am out in our maintenance hangar, glistening in the Palm Springs heat today, Greg, with my assistant, my ageless assistant. Ageless? I like that. He says yes. Greg says yes. I don't know what that word means, but he told me that it's not offensive, so I'm going to trust him on that. We are doing something a little bit different, and we're going to talk about airplanes like the Skybolt and things that join the collection. A lot of skies, Skybolt, Skyfox, whatever, but we are going to be talking about an aircraft that just joined our collection. But first, Greg, I don't know what this hat has to do with this airplane. Normally there was a little bit of a theme. There's no theme today. I look like, what is that? Is it like Sbarro or in one of those concessions in a food court? I think I should be serving fast food, but I'm going to go ahead and get this off because I can only feel that it looks fairly ridiculous. Thank you, Greg. He says yes. So we're going to toss this off camera. Oh, another fine catch from the Kenny. Now, we are talking about an aircraft that just joined our collection, and it is probably, I would say, one of the finest T6 Texans in the United States, if not the world, as far as the restoration. We're going to give credit where credit is due today. And we are talking about an AT6D. This with the nose art is one of the most unusual T6s around, and that is Heave Ho. Now, this is an authentic paint job attributed with the 355th Fighter Squadron. We're going to get into that. And of course, I'm going to throw up my plan view. Greg can throw up a plan view of the T6. This is a T6D Texan. This aircraft was, the bureau number on it is 4286068. It was built in Texas, which is kind of exciting, and it was delivered. It was built in September. It was delivered to Waco. It was built in Dallas in 1944. September of 1944, it was delivered to Waco, Texas, the same month. We're going to go through the history on this airplane a little bit. It soldiered on all the way to 1957 when it went a lot of these aircraft went into storage when they were done with them. This aircraft was a hack, and we're going to talk about that. Evolved into a squadron hack as a trainer, but then we in its livery. But then a lot of them, like this aircraft that it's based on, it went into storage and then it was sold off. Now, unusually, this airframe actually has an accident, Greg. It has a documented accident in May of 1945. They touched the wingtip. They had a little boomsadaisy. They touched the wingtip, but the aircraft was not ground looped, and then it went back into service. So it has a little bit of a ruffle tumble history. Now, the interesting thing about this airplane is it has a really historic paint job, Greg. Heave Ho is actually a paint job on a T6 that operated in the European theater of operations during World War II. It flew with the 355th Fighter Squadron. Now, it was what's called a squadron hack. Anybody could fly it, which is why it has that question mark on the tail, Greg. So that's kind of cool. Now, originally, the squadron was activated in 1942 at Hamilton Field. It was originally equipped with P-39s, Airacobra, a very familiar subject with us, Greg. And, of course, we have a P-63, which we'll mention any opportunity we get. It moved to P-51Bs, which were those, they called the P-47 Razorbacks. And the P-51, you could basically say the same thing. They had that high back fuselage with what would be called a birdcage canopy. They were not as high visibility, those P-51Bs. They flew fighter escort missions into Europe, and then eventually they were re-equipped with P-47D Thunderbolts right towards the end of the war. Now, the unit was reactivated in 1956. And they flew during the Cold War. They flew in Vietnam, which they flew strike missions in Vietnam. Then in the later after Vietnam, they flew the A-10 Thunderbolt, and they were redesignated in 2020 as the 24th Fighter Squadron. and they fly the F-35s out of Alaska, which is really cool. But the origin of the paint job on this airplane goes all the way back to that group in World War II. Now, the power plant in this is a 1340. This aircraft in particular, if you can believe this or not, Greg, was a 19-year restoration. Most of the skins on this airplane are brand new. This was John Mazzala's airplane at Pacific Fighters. John, a big shout out to you, buddy. You can see the work that you did on this airplane in restoration. If you have an aircraft, go to Pacific Fighters, have them, World War II airplane. I know Greg is seeking, for all of his World War II airplanes. Get up there and talk to Pacific Fighters. They're great people. They did, as I said, this is one of the finest T6s and the restoration I've ever seen, and has been faithfully restored. One of the things Greg will do is when we get the wrap-up shots on this aircraft still has a gun sight in it, has a bomb sight, it has the gun ring in the back seat. It is 100% faithfully restored. And when you see us, if you see us on the road, we're going to have this aircraft up at Reno, or you see us in air show, check this one out. It is really, really amazing. So the Texan was a workhorse, and we've done another video about it. It was a trainer. You graduated on to other more, you might start in a Stearman or something a little lighter, then you'd move into this.
This was what we flew in advanced. When we completed our 85 hours in the AT-6, we got our wings and our commissions. This was our first encounter with retractable landing gear. And one of the questions that's always asked is, how many of these cadets landed gear up? And the answer is, in 3 classes that I know of, 3 in a row, none. I never knew anybody to do that, because it had been pounded into them to make sure that they put the gear down before they landed. So it became a part of the routine. Marvelous airplane, greenhouse canopy. By this time, of course, the student is now in the front seat, except when he's doing instrument training. And everything flies exactly like a rather low-performance fighter.
This was a primary trainer for you to move in to a whole bunch of other robust fighter airplanes, but this is where you started. Now, I'm going to go ahead and put this down, and I am going to go to my salute. Now, my salute today is, if you were flying and you transitioned into Europe, you got to remember the Germans were still really tough at that time. They were flying pretty concentrated fighter sweeps with 109s and FW-190s, ME-109s and FW-190s. They were putting up a lot of opposition. We hadn't really figured out. The bomber losses were still pretty high, and we hadn't really figured out fighter escort. We were transitioning with the longest range airplane was the airplane that we did last week, Greg, which was the P-38. And then the P-51 started to come in, which had better range. Ultimately, the D model P-51 got air superiority, but you had a chance that you were going to get shot up over there at this time. So what I want to do is salute all of those pilots, and those pilots with the 355th that flew in World War II. I want to salute you. You had a double tough mission, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go into my stage 2, which today, Greg, he's decided to punish me. This is Buffalo Wing Soda, of course, from somebody we know, Lester's Fixins. So a little concerned about Lester here. Lester keeps the calories down, about 170 calories. Now, not a lot of sodium in this one, Greg, but we're going to give it a shot. Again, this is Buffalo Wing Soda. Oh, wow. Oh. Greg, that's a loser if I've ever seen one. I'm going to give it one more swig. Oh, man. It does not get any better on the second try. Greg, oh, that's disgusting. I don't know how Lester bottles this stuff and who he sells it to, but we have not had good luck with Lester, with Greg. Greg's had great luck with Lester poisoning me. So, as I said, this aircraft behind me was completely restored. It wears a livery of a very famous T6D Now, what ended up happening with a lot of these airplanes is they were survey aircraft, or they were spotters, or some of them moved into foreign service. On this aircraft, there's actually a Spanish entry. We think this went over at Lend-Lease into Spain and into Europe, but before it was finally disposed of. And what ended up happening a lot with these airplanes is when they were at the end of their life, the scrappers would buy them for the engines, or they would buy them, well, obviously the aluminum, but they buy them for the engines and the components because they could be used in other airplanes. And that's what happened with a lot of these T6s. They were used for other stuff. They have now moved into what we would call aficionado hands, and they are, for us, for this airplane. We had a very generous donor, anonymous donor, help us with this airplane, and if he's watching, we want to say thank you very much. We will use it for primary flight training for our fighters, our P-63, our P-51, and the other fighters that we have in the collection. So it has a very specific use for us. Now, if you're a fan of North American, you can show your love, and you can go out to the link that's attached with this video, and you can pick up this North American Aviation shirt. Now, this has a P-51 on it. This is one of the airplanes you would graduate to once you got done with the Texan, so you'd move up to a P-51 or something else. But go out to the website and pick one of these guys up. We can ship it to you. Jason, the gift shop, will send it to you. Now, remember, we cannot do the restorations and keep these aircraft flying if you don't help us with that all-critical donation. There's a donation link on this video. We can use your donations because we make this stuff happen. Get ready and keep an eye out. We're getting ready to go to Reno here in a couple of weeks. You'll see about 5 of our aircraft to Reno. So if you see some of that, like on ESPN, or you see us on the web, you can pick that up. But we're going to conclude today's view of the T6, the D, the Texan. And I am going to tell you that my name is Fred Bell, if you didn't know that. I'm the Vice Chairman of the Palm Springs Air Museum. If you liked this video today and we earned your subscription, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Like us on YouTube, like us on Facebook, and I want to thank you for watching. Have a great day.